Hello, everybody, and welcome to my podcast, HR Visionaries. Today, we will be talking about quiet firing versus loud leadership. It's about rethinking responsibilities in employee disengagement. And I am very, very excited to welcome my guest, Gerry Chandran. Welcome, Gerry. I'm very happy to have you here. Thank you for accepting the invitation. Gerry, tell us a few words about you. First of all, before diving into the topic, who is Gerry Chandran?
First of all, Andrea, let me be grateful for this occasion and really a pleasure meeting with you and talking about this very important subject, which is confronting us, as I see it, as we move through the workplace today. Who's Gerry Chandran? First and foremost, I'm a father, a husband, a friend to the many, a sport addict. I believe in the power of the smile and the power of laughter.
I can confirm that. We had a lot of laughters during our many encounters, especially at CO clubs. So yeah, I can confirm that.
And with all of this, I would like to make the world a better place. It might sound like a cliche, but I believe that I'm best equipped to do that if I work with people to make them realize their potential and move towards that potential which they so much dream about. I'm also interested in standing up for the, let's call it the invisible people, the downtrodden, as it were, who fall between the cracks.
Interesting.
And I believe that I try to inspire people to aspire to something in their lives which is going to make it worthwhile and impactful. So in a short few sentences, that's me.
That's a beautiful introduction. Thank you for that. And Gerry, can you share us more about your professional background?
Yes, as you can see, I come from India.
Yeah,
I did my schooling, my collegiate education, my MBA program in India, and in those days, the usual route is, you become a management trainee, and then you work up the ranks. So this is how it all started. I was very fortunate. After my MBA program, I started in a very well-known pharmaceutical firm in India. And after that, I had the privilege of working with, for longer stints with 3 multinationals in various geographies, whether it was Gillette, Kraft Foods, and then Mondelez. As I said, I worked in Asia, I worked in Africa, and recently, of course, came to Europe, as well as working in Europe right now as a coach.
Not that recent.
That recent.
It's been how many years now?
It's now
you've been living in Romania?
15 years now.
So not that recent.
Not that recent, yeah. But if you look at my long career, it is recent, all right.
That's true. Two different perspectives.
Yeah.
And what was the inspiration behind the switch from a CEO of multinationals to being a leadership coach?
The urge to share with people who are going through similar journeys or who want to embark on these journeys was a strong motivation. Now, as you know, as you are working in an organization, your canvas is smaller. You tend to have to work with people who are in the organization, and but you really can't be a coach when you're also their superior, and that puts a little bit of a distance between the employee and the person who wants to coach them. I feel that it would be very, very important that I expand my canvas. And that was one of the key reasons why I branched off from corporate life to coaching a decade back. And ever since, I've had unique individuals who I've been coaching, as well as senior leadership teams whom I work with, in order to transform the way they work and the way they look at each other and produce results. So this has been my strong motivation. But what keeps me going is I do learn a lot from my clients. As much as I give, I learn from them, and it's a loop, and that's what keeps me going.
That's very nice. I can't wait to hear your input on today's topic. Actually, with all that expertise that you have. Okay, so moving forward with our topic, before asking the first question, I would like to share my thoughts on the topic, because as an employment lawyer, we had our experiences. I've also been an employment lawyer for almost 20 years, so you get to see a lot. So what I see most of the time, the direct response to quiet quitting, and we will learn afterwards what we mean by quiet quitting. So the direct response to quiet quitting or employee disengagement is either quiet firing or loud firing. We're talking about quiet firing when you managers sweep the problem under the carpet, under the rug, as we very well may say, or you unjustifiably increase the workload and the expectations, you tolerate or are yourself a perpetrator, a harasser, so you tolerate harassment within the company. These are just a few examples of quiet firing. Or it might be a loud firing. Yeah, like being an abrupt firing, being loud, make it visible for all the employees to see it and to set a precedent, to set an example. The problem is that the outcomes in these kind of situations is seldom good. So most of the times these cases land on our desk, on the lawyer's desk. And by the time they end on our desk, there are not many options. It's either we negotiate on what we call an MTA, like a mutual termination agreement, which is not bad per se, but we have to think about the severance package. And we're talking about high salaries that companies usually need to pay. And by this, they're also setting a precedent within the organization. I mean, if you pay for one employee, you have to take into account that you will pay for others who are quiet quitting. Or you just take a chance and dismiss the employee. And here, again, the risk is very high, because after 2-3 years, even up to 3 years in court, if you don't have the proof and enough evidence, and you lose the lawsuit, you have to reinstate the employee and pay retroactive salary rights, which is not a good outcome. Why? I've been asking this question for a long time. Why? What's the reason for these outcomes? And what I noticed in practice is the fact that managers do not address the issue from the very beginning. They don't try to answer to find an answer to the question why. Why is the employee disengaged? Why is he quietly quitting? The reason for that, I think, is that most of the times, be it HR managers, or even top leadership, they are not well equipped. They don't have the training. They don't have the tools to deal with these kinds of conflicts in the workplace. And the number is on the rise. So
yes.
we're getting more and more conflicts in the workplace. So they're not well equipped, and even sometimes not even supported by top leadership, be it professionally or emotionally. So we have to keep in mind that direct managers or HR leaders are people themselves. So
Yes.
we have to support them as well. So this being my thoughts, I will move to the first question. So I would like to talk about quiet quitting. We heard this term a lot I think starting with the pandemic or right after the pandemic. So in your opinion, what is quiet quitting? Is it either a disengagement of the employees, which most of the employers say it is, or is it just the employees trying to reach a work-life balance by not going the extra mile? And why is it? Is it because it's a generational gap? So is it just different perspective of different generations? And what is the third question is, what is the root cause? Why are we here? Why are we dealing with these kind of problems?
Andrea, this is an important subject, and I like to step back and answer the last question which you said. What is the root cause? Is quiet quitting, which is basically, if I have to define it in very simple terms, it is employees not going beyond their job description, or they're doing the barest minimum to be within an organization. The old-fashioned way of talking about quiet quitting is work to rule, as they say. Yeah. Now, is quiet quitting a cause or an effect? Is the big question. And here I like to give you a few studies which have been done, some numbers which might open our eyes as to what's happening. 2018, ADP Research did a worldwide study on employees' engagement. It's 2018. Most probably it has gone a little bit more, shall we say, pronounced. But the numbers are very, very startling. One is 67% of employees worldwide feel they are disengaged. 67%. 18% feel they are actively disengaged. So that leaves a very, very small percentage of 15% people who are engaged. So it's not a challenge which is very much restricted to certain areas, certain industries, certain geographies. It is a challenge across the globe, and it's also an opportunity if certain organizations can wake up and start working on some basic fundamentals which will reverse this trend. That's one study. The other study, which I like to quote over here, is 75%. This was a study done in 2023. 75% of the workforce in 2025, and this was projected, are going to be millennials. And the way, and I'm generalizing over here, the way millennials look at work, they look at life, is very different, most probably from their bosses, who could be baby boomers. And that's where you were talking a little bit about the generational gap. Now, if organizations can work out the formula by which they can manage and make millennials most productive, they will produce the results. Those who cannot will have that challenge day in and day out, and they will not be able to produce the results that they dream about. So there are these two factors. I'm giving you some stark numbers so that we get aroused by them.
Mm-hmm.
Which brings me to the point of what is the role of leadership in the whole scheme of things? Now, millennials, to come back to our target audience, because they are 75% of the workforce, they believe that, and rightly so, that an organization has to have a purpose behind their economic activity. They believe that their boss has to be a coach rather than just direction giving. The boss has to be, the organization has to be also interested in their lives than just their work. Just to give you three different approaches to their work life. And if millennials do not find an organization which is taking them as a human being, they find it very difficult to engage in the activity they are supposed to do. I'm giving you a very, very broad perspective of what is it that is leading us on to disengagement, or where there is an opportunity to engage ourselves. So if leaders do not understand this shift in expectations, and they're not able to adapt to the shift in expectations, then apart from not producing the results they want from their people, they are also going to be very frustrated. I remember a quotation from Jim Collins talking about leadership. We have heard a lot of people talking about leadership and what it means. Jim Collins says leadership is the art of making people want to do what must be done. You must have heard this
many, many times.
and that's the essence of leadership. Now, in many organizations, we spend a lot of money and research on who's my customer. We try to find out their buying habits, if it is a fast-moving consumer goods. We try to figure out their trends. But we don't spend that amount of time, effort in trying to figure out who's our internal customer and how they are responding to the way we are wanting them to work. So I'm not putting the onus only on leadership. Obviously, employees also have a duty over there. But in my experience and in my sphere, which I'm working on in terms of leadership coaching, leaders have the responsibility and the opportunity to look at things in a very different fashion in order to get the response from the people whom they want to get the response from. So this is not only a leadership challenge, as I can call it, it's also a developmental challenge. Because as a leader, I might want to change the way I'm doing things. But do I have the capacity as well as the opportunity along with the organization to change the way I look, and for the system in the organization to encourage me to do that? And that's something which is very important for even leaders to look at themselves in the mirror and start asking themselves, what is it that I need to do? What is that change of behavior and a change of mindset I should have in order to get the response from the people I'm working with? There are a few other areas which I like to dwell on over here in terms of why people quit, as we are talking about. That's the subject matter. Yeah. One of the key areas which make people quit or get engaged, let's be positive about things, is when they can trust their leader. That's the first and foremost aspect of engagement. If I can trust the person whom I'm working for, I would give him or her a lot of my effort. Number two is I'm a part of a community or a team. If I'm a member of a team, then the team takes the responsibility to pull me up when I'm down, or I take the responsibility to pull up somebody else when they are down. And without that community help within a work organization, within a team, they find it very difficult and they find it very isolated. I'm just impressing on two areas. There are, of course, a few other areas which we can talk about. But I believe that if you step back and look at the reasons why things are changing, and they will change dramatically as we go along, there is a fantastic opportunity for organizations to look themselves in the mirror, the leaders within the organizations to look at, are there other ways of looking at things? And as we all know, success can be is a two-edged sword. Success can tell us the ways in which we have accomplished a few things, but success can also make us blind to being adaptive, listen to people, and even be in a position to admit a mistake. So these are some of my thoughts when it comes to quiet quitting. And I think building a culture of a leadership change is going to be very much important if companies have to produce results, and more importantly, produce sustainable results. There's no quick fix to this, but this is how it goes.
That's so true. I'm so happy that you addressed this issue, because these are my thoughts as well. I think organizations have to change and adapt, because what happens now is that they want their employees to work the same way they work now, or they used to work when they were their age. And I try telling them it's different generations. It's not that they are better or worse, they are just different. So we should ask ourselves the question, is it not us that have to change, to adapt, and to understand them? So the conclusion that I draw is that employees nowadays are not low performance, meaning they are quiet quitting. They are quiet quitting, but they are not low performance. No. Or we're not talking about disciplinary misconduct, as most of the employers think of their employees. It's just a different generation with a different set of values. So you were talking about change, about mind shift, about leadership. So I have two more questions.
Please.
Yeah. Who is when you're talking about leadership, whom are we talking about? Because in my, I'm usually dealing with HR, who are themselves dealing with these kind of issues, direct management.
Yes.
And not too often top management. So what do you mean by leadership? And then second, what are the tools? How can we equip the managers, be it HR, direct managers, how can we equip them for them to be able to manage these kinds of issues in the organization?
The classic definition of leadership is two prerequisites. One is the occasion. You can be a leader without teams, obviously. And the other classical one is being a leader of a group of people. Now, leadership, to the question, who has to take care of things?
Who has to take responsibility?
Let me go back again to culture. Top leadership have the responsibility to define what is the type of culture they want within the organization. And that's not enough. They have to walk the talk. If people have to believe that the leadership is wanting us to act in a similar manner. So the responsibility of establishing a culture, encouraging this culture, walking the talk, totally with the top management. If they don't do that, it is very difficult to tell others in the organization, including other leaders, to do the same things which they want them to do, but they're not doing themselves.
That's so true.
So that's a big, big responsibility. After that, I strongly believe that HR, the function of HR is to be the soul of the organization. They are not supposed to be where managers come and give their problems to them and say, you handle them.
But that's what happens in practice.
That's what happens in practice. And that's why HR managers are not able to do the real job they're supposed to do.
Correct.
Line managers, if they have the responsibility towards the people, they take total responsibility. Whether they are in finance, whether they are in production, whether they are in marketing, irrespective, they take total responsibility of the people they've got. Let's assume we use an accounting term over here. People they have a certain value. That's the asset they have to manage and get a return from that asset. And the HR folks have to be the one who have to do two things. See that the organization is fair and just with all the people concerned. And number two, providing the impetus and the training and their perspectives to the line managers to be effective people managers. And that's all their role is. Through HR. Of course, there are other aspects of HR like administration, which can be classified in a very different sense. And that is to do with other things in the organization. Now, if line managers or people managers and the senior management are aligned on the culture, then things will work. If they are not aligned on the culture and people are not, shall we say, encouraged, motivated, and inspired to follow a certain culture, then you will find that there are pockets of engaged people and large pockets of disengaged people.
Disengaged.
So it's everything to do with leadership, because the best way of communication to our employees is when they see their superiors walking the talk.
That's true.
And that has to be done in a consistent manner. It's not once in a while. And as I keep discussing with some of my clients, and we are talking about behaviors over here, and we will talk a little bit more about it later. Employees notice and remember how their leaders behave when they are challenged. It could be just 2 out of 100 times, but they remember those 2 times. And that is what gives them away. So that calls for a lot of discipline, a lot of self-introspection, and a lot of practice trying to change that behavior, because, as you know, 95% of the time, we work very subconsciously. A situation happens, we are triggered, and we act subconsciously, which is a very good defense mechanism for the brain. But sometimes those subconscious activity, especially in leadership roles, is going to upend all the good work you've done the most of the time.
Yeah.
And this is something where leaders have to be very, very aware about.
I don't know if it's good news or bad news. So you have to be a parent at home and have to be a parent at the in the workplace as well.
Exactly.
When you are a leader, because the conclusion that I can draw is that employees react or act like kids in these kinds of situations. They monitor their parents, the leadership, and then draw their conclusion and behave in a certain way. So like parents at home, you have to be very consistent with your behavior and act as a role model, as you say. That's very interesting. I never thought about that from this point of view. But what about, Gerry, what about employees? Because we were talking about leadership and their responsibility towards the employees. But what about employees? Because I think employees cannot nowadays, I don't know if they don't want to or they don't know how to communicate. So most of the time there is lack of communication from both sides, leadership and employees. But what would be the employee's responsibility? Because we cannot shift the entire responsibility and the blame with the leadership, and the employees can act freely. So what would their responsibility be?
A few thoughts come to my mind when you're asking me this question. What would be the responsibility of the employee? Again, I like to take a very holistic picture here. See, each one of us have to know our purpose in life and our purpose in work. And for most of us, it should be the purpose of work has to enable me to fulfill my wishes in life. Many of us have it in our head, but we don't put it on a piece of paper. We don't discuss it. We don't share it. And that's a starting problem. Now, and I'm coming back again to the superior or the leader. He can get the best out of his employee, he or she, only if they know the person as a whole. Not what they are technically qualified to do, but who are they as persons. I've seen many situations wherein if the superior or the leader opens up, the employee opens up. It doesn't work the other way. It just doesn't. So I'm putting back the leader's responsibility in terms of opening up the conversation, not just on the immediate task at hand, but on the person as such. So when we talk about purpose, the purpose of work, we are also again talking about what this person requires as support. We are also talking about what the leader expects from the person and what the person is aligning with the leader on. Because those conversations take some time, but that's an investment for good work. So this ongoing conversation on expectations, support, help is very, very, very important. And more importantly, after that is how does the leader and the organization help the person to learn and progress in order to do their job better. So I cannot put the emphasis only on the employee, except for one factor, which is when an employee joins an organization, he or she has to be very clear through the conversation she has with the various people in the organization. One, is this the type of organization wherein I will thrive? What is the state of the organization as of today? What are their challenges? Number 3, is this something wherein I can use my strengths in order to provide value? These are the 3 things which come to my mind when you ask me this question. And they will be truthful enough to themselves and say, okay, fine, this is an organization, I will give it a shot. Or this is an organization I know for sure is not going to be a good ground for me to live my life and live my life well by producing the job which I am supposed to do.
That's so true. Does this happen in practice?
If this this doesn't happen in practice all the time, but I think the onus also lies with the person who recruits the individual to not only talk about the technical qualifications of the job which he or she possesses or what is required, but it also means that they ask the concerned person stories about their lives. Where are they right now? What do they want to do in their lives? Take a holistic view of the particular person. What motivates them and drives them towards this particular job? And then take a decision whether to recruit the person or not. So a selection process which takes the entire gamut of the person is very, very important so that at least you know where this person stands, what is motivating them, and whether, again, it will be aligned to the organizational requirements at that point in time.
That's so true. I think both parties have to manage their expectations.
Absolutely.
Which very seldom happens in practice. Like the employee, be honest, just being honest about my expectations. For example, do I want to work long hours? Do I want to be fully engaged? Or do I want a great work-life balance? And the recruiter must be honest as well. Yes, we work long hours. Yes, we expect a lot from our employees. And whatever expectations you have, it's not only about working long hours, but whatever expectations you have as an organization, you should be transparent, truthful about it.
Absolutely.
With very seldom happens because they paint a perfect picture of the organization.
Yes.
And then the employee, after a couple of months, is quite surprised to experience the opposite. And it's the other way around because employees seldom admit that they want that work-life balance, that they are not thriving to have a successful career, because who doesn't want that, right?
Exactly.
So you're not being honest. And then you have this conflict going on right after the probation period. Because during the probation period, everybody acts like you should act.
Yes.
But after the probation period, when it's very difficult to part ways, right? We know it from the legal point of view, they show their true colors. So yeah, being honest and manage expectations, I think this is a very good point of view.
I have another one which you've just talked about. Having worked with in a lot of challenging situations in various organizations at different points in time, and businesses like that, it's you shouldn't and it should not be a way of life wherein you expect leaders to expect their employees to work extra hours all the time. It can be for a completion of a project. It could be there's a big challenge going on and we need to set it right within a month or two. Doesn't matter. There, you put everybody on board, you tell them what's the situation and what we need to do in order to overcome the situation. I think every organization goes through all of this stuff, and I'm fully for it. But when organizations take it as a matter of right, that this is how we are going to work all the time, then a few things happen. One, cause for burnout across the organization. And all said and done, productivity comes down. Let me spin the coin a little bit differently. If we can get our people to work productively and, if I can quote this term, in a happy frame of mind, during those 8 hours which we are talking about, I think we will be home and dry. We'll be really home and dry. We have to see that we utilize their capacity, their focus, and their engagement levels during those 8 hours. Apart from the fact that we have some other issues, certain points in time. Number two, which I want us to think about is, again, I'm going back to employees and all of us being a human asset. If I am personally happy, I will be happy at work. If we are unhappy in our personal lives, you can be sure most of the time
I'm not happy at work.
We are not happy at work. What does it bring us to? It brings us to the fact that when we talk about work-life balance, it's not the number of hours as such. It's about whenever I'm at work, I'm as productive as I should be with myself, involving myself into the work. And number two, my team members helping me out and my superior supporting and driving me. Because when you are happy at work and we go back home, you're much more happier at home. And when you renew your energy at home and come back refreshed, then you are more productive at work. That's on one spectrum. The other spectrum is how are we going to renew energy during the day while we are at work? Each one of us have our own ways of doing it, but focus on a particular job takes a lot of energy, obviously without the distractions. And if distractions happen, it takes even more energy. And after a certain point in time, during the day, how you renew your energy is as important as a focus, because the next work is going to be also as challenging as it usually is in work life. So to conclude, I would say, let's see that we are making people happy at work so that they are as productive as they can be. When I say happy, not in the flippant sense, but in the most serious sense. And number two is that take care of them as they go back to their personal life so that they come back refreshed. Not that they find it a chore to come back to work the next day.
That's true. Yeah. I truly believe in the fact that you cannot be productive for an extended period of time working 12, 14 hours. I've never believed in that. But to the contrary, you're achieving the opposite. So yes, you can be productive in working 8 hours a day, but I think this is a two different topics actually. Talking about being productive at work during those 8 hours, and being happy at home. This is also another topic. Maybe we will address this topic in another podcast, in another session. How can we be happy at home? Because this is also about our personal lives, our beliefs, our problems, and so on and so forth. But yes, it plays a great role. Our personal life.
Absolutely.
It reflects in our professional life. Thank you so much, Gerry, for sharing the thoughts. So many useful ideas that you shared with us today. But we will not conclude because I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
Or two in one. Can you share with us some two success stories, maybe one success story from your time as a CEO? And some examples of your teaching as a leadership coach?
One success story which comes to my mind is when I was in South Africa. It was 2006. And I had worked with Gillette for a long period of time, and I was wanting to move on in the sense that I wanted another adventure, if I can call it that. And what happened, fortunately, was the fact that Procter & Gamble bought Gillette over in the year 2005, if you remember. And that hastened my decision making. So I told Procter that I'm going to be on the lookout very soon, and they were fine with that. And luckily for me, I was offered a job as managing director for Kraft Foods in South Africa itself. And I shifted houses 2 kilometers away and shifted offices 3 kilometers away and settled in. But there was a big catch. The catch was that Kraft Foods in South Africa at that point in time were suffering losses for a good period of time, and we needed to recapitalize the business. And the mandate which was given to me after I entered the organization was that I should not suffer more than these losses, number one. Number two, mothball the organization so that when the next acquisition comes, we'll be available to blossom forth. And then I told myself, why would they pay me so much of money to mothball an organization? Somebody else can do that, correct? So in my mind, I said that this is not a strategy which I would like to follow. I saw the organization and I said, they seem to be as bright as they can be. And the only thing is that they have not been very successful from a P&L point of view, which if that prolongs for a period of time, my belief was that it scars their lives actually, because they feel they are failures, So I told myself, okay, let's go on a different path. I didn't tell the bosses, obviously, immediately. But then I approached my regional boss and I told him that, give me a chance. And let me try and put things right. Of course, the restructuring work had to go because we had to recapitalize. But it stalled for a period of time because they wanted me to look at things. Cutting a long story short, first year we broke even, second year we achieved reasonable profit, third year we came to regional average. Now, why do I say that? It's all about teams. It's all about teams. They wanted to be a success in their lives. This was an opportunity. If both go together, we are always a winner. One other factor which I learned as I went through this 3-year episode was when you are down, you don't look at any opportunity. It's just impossible
to think positive.
And because I came in from the outside, I didn't have a clear plan, obviously, in the beginning stages. I knew that I had to make a difference over there. And there was a team over there to work along with me. And that was it. When things are not going well, you don't look at opportunities. And things are going very badly, you don't even look at the low-hanging fruit. And this is something which I learned when I look back at this particular episode. That was a very, very big learning experience for me. If you are brave, you can do a lot of things. Being brave also means that if you fail, it doesn't really matter. But you'd rather be brave and fail than not be brave at all. So that's something which comes to my mind. And the other, of course, is if you can get a team to work together, the results could surprise you.
That's true. Thank you so much, Gerry, for sharing all your thoughts. I'm certain that they will be of great use for leaders, HR managers. I think HR managers will be very happy after listening to this podcast because nowadays they have a lot of responsibilities. They are acting as firefighters.
Yes.
But not only useful for leadership, but also for the employees who are listening to looking to our podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much
for being here.
It was a nice conversation.
Thank you, Gerry.
Thank you.